Welcome back to the PC Engine Files. I'm your host, Mr. MegaManFan, and this is Ryuukyuu, a game from Face in 1990 produced by ASCII Corporation, and there's not a lot of information about this game out there on the internet. Very few sites have any kind of write-up for it, and the ones that do have only a short blurb and not much information, so hopefully I'm putting out a little more than was previously known about this game because I actually sat down, took the time to play it. Now, the only thing you're not going to get here is the music from the game because, quite frankly, it's very boring. It's like a slowed down version of the shop music from Fantasy Zone. Do 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 do. I think you get the idea. It's just not even necessary for the gameplay. And the sound effects, well, there's only one sound effect. It's the sound of a card dropping into a row. So there's not much to hear there either. So I think by dubbing in some instrumental music, I'm doing you all a favor to make this more interesting. And at first, you might be saying, well, that's why there isn't a write-up about Ryuukyuu anywhere. What's so interesting about dropping playing cards into rows and columns? At first, I would have agreed with you. I didn't even really understand what I was doing. I just fumbled around, but eventually it dawned on me that what you're doing in this game is making poker hands, and each row or column that you fill is a complete hand. So what you're doing is playing both rows across, rows up and down, and even diagonal rows. You can make a poker hand if they go from one corner to the other, and you've got like three of a kind, or a straight flush, or a full house, or two pair, or whatever. And it awards you points based on the difficulty of the hand you created. The better the hand, the more points you get. And it is level based that you have to exceed a certain amount of points with all the possible hands you can make before you fill up the entire grid. And if you do that, then you advance to the next level. And if you don't, it says game over and you've got to try again. Now, that leads to very interesting strategies because the further you get to the top, the less options you have to play cards. So it forces you to think carefully about your opening plays, because once you drop down from the top and you've only got a few spots left, you need to make poker hands like the diagonal one that I just made there, or the pair that I just got there. You've got to use that last row to rack up the maximum amount of points you can right before you run out of spaces, so you hit that clear goal. It doesn't seem like this should be as addictive as it is, but trust me when I say this, hopefully you do trust me, that you get a real buzz when you get a clear like that. It's a very satisfying feeling when you're like, oh shit, I actually made enough matches to beat the level, I can move on. And apparently, your reward for moving on is that it reveals tiles to show you something behind the screen. You can sort of see it through the grid. It appears to be a woman's face, and I'm not sure. I hate to speculate on this kind of thing, but some of these games for PC Engine, some of these puzzle games, some of these tile games, some of these strategy games were soft core. And because of that, I'm going to limit my gameplay of Ryuukyuu to a certain point because I don't actually want to reveal too much of this image and potentially find out it is what I think it might be and get flagged. So if you want to do a longer gameplay session of Ryuukyuu, I would suggest doing that on your own, and you get to hear the stock generic music and stock generic sound effects. But in saying that, I feel like I might be knocking Ryuukyuu a little too much I don't know that it's necessarily bad that a puzzle game has generic music and generic sound effects, because that's not the draw, pun intended, for a card game. That's not the draw here. The draw is solving the puzzle, creating the best hands, getting the most points, clearing the levels. You could put anything in the background, which is literally what I've done here. It doesn't matter what the background music is or what the sound effects are, because you're going to be so mentally tuned into the challenge that it all just goes away. It gives you this, what athletes talk about as the tunnel vision effect, where you don't hear the crowd, you don't see anybody around the field, you're only seeing what you're doing at that moment. And this game creates that sense of tunnel vision that you get locked in and you're thinking about all the matches you're making, because again, the grid, look right there, you just saw multiple matches that I made at the same time, and that is such a great feeling when you get that and you make that right move and you're like, oh sweet, I made 3 combos in one play. It's very addictive, and it boggles my mind that, considering we as gamers love puzzle games, we love strategy games, we love RTS and turn-based games and role-playing games and games where you have to make a lot of strategic decisions, it boggles me that nobody has ever really done a profile on Ryuukyuu or talked about it. But that info, just like I said, it doesn't exist outside of this video. Like, the PC Engine Bible has a 1-sentence description that's something like a strategy game where you play poker cards to make hands. That's all. And if you search for Ryuukyuu, if you do a Google search or DuckDuckGo or anything else, you get a lot of places with a name Ryukyu. You know, it's like a city name, a river name, a mountain name, whatever. But you don't get this game. It's not until you type in Ryuukyuu PC Engine that you actually get any search results on it. So I think that actually makes it perfect for the PC Engine files, in that it really is an obscure game. I'm pretty sure I've never seen anybody even play this before. Not even my friend Sarumaru, hashtag Saru Crew. So he plays PC Engine games almost every Friday night. And to my knowledge, I've never seen Ryuukyuu pop up on one of his feeds. I'll be honest, since so many PC Engine games that I've never played before are shoot 'em ups, I booted this one up without even having looked it up beforehand for my gameplay here on the PC Engine files, and I thought it would be another shoot 'em up. And I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, because I actually really enjoy this game a lot now that I've played it, but I was surprised. I mean, it really feels like 9 times out of 10, if you pick a game at random from PC Engine, it's a shooter. And that is part of the reason TurboGrafx and PC Engine has such a cult following, is that shooter games just seem to run better on PC Engine compared to other consoles from the era. Like, try playing the exact same game on NES and PC Engine if there's like a port that goes on both consoles, and the NES is probably going to have a lot more flickering sprites and maybe even some significant slowdown, whereas the PC Engine breezes through that shit. It has either a faster processor or better mapping or better sprite rendering, or what, I don't know. What it could even just be the number of megahertz in the CPU. It's faster, so it can display everything. It has enough time to do all the operations and not get bogged down to the point where something's got to give. So it's worth it just to play shooters on the PC Engine, even if that's all you ever do. But it's refreshing to know that that's not all you ever do. There are platforming games, there are puzzle games, there are more options out there than you would think, and Ryuukyuu is a great example of that. Look at that clear I just got. I needed 6350. I got to 6400. That is so satisfying when that happens. So I encourage you to give this one a try, especially if you like puzzle games, because I don't think there are enough of them that really get this kind of love like I'm giving this one right now. I'll even go that far. Yes, I do love it. I would play this one again, not just for a video, but just to sit down and unwind for a while, because puzzle games are also really good for that aspect. By giving you that tunnel vision and letting your mind focus on what you're doing, you're also taking away other things outside of your tunnel vision, like anxiety, stress, problems in your life. You know, sometimes you just need that mental time off where you can just sit down, do something for a while, and not think about the other things, and then come back and deal with those things later. Not that you're avoiding your problems, but that you're giving yourself a chance to rest and recover before you go back to tackling them again. You know, that's important for an athlete. You know, they do a lot of hard physical lifting or running or training, and then they have to have a recovery period. You know, you take a breath, you drink some Gatorade, you wipe off the sweat with a towel, whatever you do, and then you come back to it later. And I think rest and recovery is just as important mentally as it is physically. I think there are benefits to be drawn from each. Take a break once in a while. Give yourself a chance to breathe, a chance to relax and not be stressed out, and then come back to whatever stressful thing you're dealing with, and you'll be able to handle it that much better. That's just my personal philosophy on the whole thing, but your mileage may vary. Some people really thrive under stress, and to that I say more power to them. If you're the kind of person who actually functions better in stressful situations, then feel free to ignore my advice. But my advice on this is try Ryuukyuu. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for watching.